Baby, you wonderful. Baby, you beautiful. Baby, what goes on in your head?
Maybe my pig is pink. Maybe I need a drink.
Good night, sweet baby of mine.
If a commercial company had a product which reduced the risk of illness by 5 times and that raised the IQ of babies and protected them against diabetes and childhood cancer, it would be an icon. The share market value would rocket. And yet breast milk does that sort of thing for the human infant. Yet we treat it as though it has no value.
How are you? I'm the lactation consultant. How you doing?
Good.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
This is Ian.
Hello, Ian.
And my husband, Ken.
Welcome to our world. Ian's big.
Yeah, 9 pounds, 2 ounces.
Great.
Infants are born genetically programmed to achieve a certain developmental level, and human breast milk guides the infant along that developmental pathway.
The American Academy of Pediatrics, their guideline is to exclusively breastfeed for 6 months, introduce solids after that, and continue to breastfeed for 1 year or however longer you want to do that.
Breast milk is not just about nutrition. Nutrition is very important. It provides the right protein and fatty acid and carbohydrate balance and all the micronutrients, but it also provides all the hormones and developmental factors that guide infant development during the course of the first couple of years of life. So in other words, it's setting the systems of that infant up for optimal development.
Were you a formula-fed baby or a breastfed baby? Formula. How about you?
Yeah, I was formula-fed as well.
Okay. Do you have people that you know of that have been breastfeeding and successfully breastfeeding, and do you have
an extra neighbor.
We live in a society where bottle feeding is normal, that we see bottle feeding as the model of what breastfeeding should be. And so this whole lack of knowledge, but also this model of the bottle-fed baby, which is imposed on the breastfeeding mother and baby, this results in lots and lots of mothers stopping breastfeeding.
The 20th century was catastrophic for breastfeeding.
First of all, there was a need for something other than breastfeeding. For example, mothers died in labor and birth, and nobody could feed them. There were wet nurses, say back in 1900, but there were never enough wet nurses, so something needed to be done. There was a need, but it was a small need. But then obviously somebody with marketing mentality said, hey, let's see if we can sell this to a lot more people.
At the beginning, it wasn't even really clever formula milk. It was just kind of slightly modified cow's milk. And lots of babies got brought up on slightly modified cow's milk. It was a great big natural experiment that nobody monitored the outcomes of.
Watching your baby grow stronger with those first few steps. What a wonderful feeling. Like the good warm feeling that comes with happier meal times. Because Beechnut caters to your baby's taste, he eats better, gets more nourishment.
With the reawakening of our understanding in the 60s, 70s and 80s of the importance of breastfeeding and the long-term health benefits to an infant and adult who was breastfed, we now have a culture of breastfeeding women who really want to breastfeed because they understand the benefits, whose mothers and grandmothers did not breastfeed. So that's within family peer support has been lost.
It's a great brochure about nursing in public. Anybody got thoughts on that? Anybody fearful about? Fearful, okay.
I feel uncomfortable too when I'm sitting there at the table with her and she's just like breastfeeding and I'm like, wow, I can't look at her. I feel it makes me feel uncomfortable.
What really seems to happen is that once you start feeding your baby, you do kind of forget that or you're not as focused at your breast. It's you're feeding your baby.
The group has really been great for us. We came when she was 3 days old, because Linda was on vacation when Isabella was born.
How dare you take a vacation?
Sorry. And I got her back by coming in here with my sore, tired nipples, crying my eyes out. But we've had a really good time. She's latched on, and we're doing pretty well.
So this finally, number 3 is Charm. He's finally breastfeeding normally. So I pumped with the first 2 just for a few months, like I said, and I hope to do it for at least 6 months or so. I don't know how it works when I go back to work.
She was premature by 3 weeks and was 5 pounds 2 ounces when she was born, and then went down to 4.6, I think, and didn't gain. She kept going down, so I started to give her formula then.
And a baby has to eat, for sure.
Yeah.
So a woman who's trying to breastfeed is actually struggling sometimes against these big societal norms. Doesn't realise it. She thinks she's just having a tough time. But the reason she's not getting support and help is because society is actually geared much more towards formula feeding than it is to breastfeeding.
Formula in and of itself isn't the bad guy. It's the improper marketing of this substance.
They go through the medical system. Most hospitals give out free formula to new mothers.
Because something has been handed to them by a nurse or a doctor or a dietitian or the custodian in the hospital, it's something their baby is supposed to have.
A lot of ads for infant formula say, closer than ever to mother's milk. Well, that isn't true. Infant formula does not resemble human milk at all. Standard formula is based on cow's milk. The cow's milk then has its butterfat removed, and a blend of fats are put back in there. Now, many of those fats are fats like coconut oil, olein, palm oil, the type of fats that we're told to stay away from. Essentially, you have got ingredients put into infant formula that have never been in the food chain.
Formula companies produce something which the Food and Drug Administration defines as generally recognized as safe. The drawback to that is that the only way you find out that something in fact is no longer safe is by what I call the oops method. And the oops would be the baby that becomes profoundly ill.
Formula can be life-saving in certain situations. It can be therapeutically useful for some situations, but it should be considered a drug, and it shouldn't be considered something we use routinely.
Sometimes some babies have a real difficulty latching in the first 24 hours, and then boom, the next day it's like, okay, now I know what I want to do and get down to it. And then there are other babies that may have some challenges.
You're right that, what I'd like to do is try to find some way to get him something right now.
Mm-hmm. We have a lot of options. It definitely does not have to be a nipple bottle by any means. Yeah, they have what's called a supplemental nurser, or they have a lot of different names for them, but it's a very thin plastic catheter that's attached to the side of your nipple. We're going to take it feed by feed and see how things go.